Welcome to Mi Gente on Air on 100.5 and 790 News Radio WSGW and online WSGW.com. Now, here is your host, Larry Rodarte.
Hello, welcome everybody to another edition of Mi Gente on Air. I am your host, Larry Rodarte, and it's a pleasure to be with everybody here on this mid-May of 2026. It's already mid-May. Can you imagine? We're almost 6 months into the new year, and time is just flying. It's just amazing to me. I made a post on Facebook recently in regard to the graduates. You know, we're coming into graduation season, and for the last 30 years, Mi Gente magazine has published the graduates, their accomplishment, and the high schools that they attended. And as of recent years, we have actually put messages from their parents or loved ones who send in those graduates. And so it's kind of a nice addition, but it's really hard for me to fathom that 30 years has gone by since we first put Aurelio Medel and Margarita Banda on the cover, because they, I believe, were valedictorian and salutatorians at Arthur Hill High School in 1996. And so it's really hard for me to believe that, because it's almost they're almost going to be going on 50 years of age, and these were just kids at the time at 18. And so it's been a long haul. It's been a long time that we have continued to promote our graduates, but as a community, that's what we have to do. We have to continue to promote education and to help them in their endeavors, whether it's promoting scholarships, giving scholarships, whatever it is, to help them. And I got my first graduation party invite today, believe it or not. My cousin Talia Heredia Gonzalez, she is graduating, and so I got my first invitation, which I'm sure many of you get out there as well. And so graduation season is coming upon us. I congratulate all the 2026 graduates, whether they're high school or whether they are actually college. I know that the first week in May there was many colleges that were holding their commencements for their college graduates. And I want to make a mention of a good friend of mine, Raquel Ledesma. She is now Dr. Raquel Ledesma and has completed her doctorate degree. And so that's really something. I'm proud to say I've known her for a while, and that she was able to put that on Facebook and, you know, really promote her accomplishment. It's a big accomplishment to go through and actually, you know, have your bachelor's degree, your master's degree, and then your doctorate. It takes a long time, a lot of tenacity as an individual to do that. And so kudos and flowers to all the graduates. Like I said, in 2026, we have to continue to promote them and be positive with them and make sure that, you know, this is their time to get their flowers, as the saying goes. And then, you know, it's been a tough week for our community as well. We had the passing of somebody who was quiet. His debonair, he was a man who was a workaholic. You would see him in the restaurants of El Rancho Grande way back, as well as Maria's restaurant, Don Nicolas Jimenez, the father of Maria Gomez and Chole Jimenez, and Jose Arellano and Santos Jimenez. These are individuals in our community who have their own businesses. They took up the example of their father and have been hard workers in our community and have actually given so much in terms of the culinary aspect. Los Santos with the Estrellas Bakery over there in Michigan, as well as Chole at El Rancho Grande, as well as Maria. Gosh, Maria's, you go there on a Sunday and it's packed with individuals, and you would always see this figure, this individual who he was quite elderly. I remember addressing him, Don Senor, or you know, Nicolas. And I remember when my father was still alive, he asked me how old he was, and I said he was at the time 89, and he said he was 93, and he lifted his fists like, yeah, I'm 93, and God has graced him with a long life, and he passed this last week at the age of 98. And I know there were many who were saddened. I talked with Maria today, and it was real difficult for her to just talk about her father, and I totally understand that. You know, you're never ready as a child of somebody. I don't care how old you are or how old they were. He was 98 years old. He had a long, long life. And yet, you know, it's hard. It's saddened because something changed in Maria and in her siblings' life. And that makes it really hard. But I think it's really important that we as a community, we talk about him and give honor to him, because this is an individual who in 1952 came to the United States under the Bracero program. The Bracero program that the United States government put in place to take up the slack of men working in the fields, because many of the men, the U.S. American men, were off at war. And so that program started, I believe, in 1942, and it ended in 1964, where they recruited men from Mexico and from the state of Texas to come and work the fields and the crops and the agricultural aspect of our communities. And Don Nicolas Jimenez Bellman, he came as a bracero in 1952, and he did it, that hard laborious work, for the betterment of his family, to support them. He had 8 children that he was helping to support, and he was married in 1968, and you know, eventually, because of Maria, who came to the United States on her own in her early 20s, with her pushing and saying, you know, we can have a better life in America, the family eventually came to the United States and ended up in Saginaw. And Maria has 2 siblings that are in Mexico still, in Celaya, where the family actually lived before they came to the United States, and where Don Nicolas was raised, although he was born somewhere else. You know, he spent most of his life in Celaya, had a home there. I remember Maria, you know, he would go back and forth from Celaya to Saginaw, 15 years back or what have you, and Maria would go and get him and bring him back to Saginaw, but he always wanted to return to his homeland. He had a twin brother named Roberto that was alive. And so, he had a love for his Mexico lindo, and he eventually came and lived here with Maria and the family, and passed this week, and will be buried here in Saginaw, Michigan. But it's really important because I want people to understand, my listeners out there, and this is my belief, and I'm sure many others in the community, the Bracero program and those men that came during that time when the United States needed them from Mexico to work the agricultural fields. And that's why many, came back and stayed in the United States. Some stayed in Saginaw, like the migrant workers that came as well after them. They were going, I remember my dad talking about the braceros, and they were men from straight Mexico, where my dad was a Tejano from Uvalde, Texas, and they worked together side by side many times. And, sometimes it was difficult for those men from Mexico, and they relied on many of the Tejanos, or those that spoke English, that were, Mexicanos that were actually born here in the United States. They relied on their help and their translation probably, but also just the idea of working those hard, laborious fields. It was hard work. Anybody who has ever worked in the fields, and many of the children of these individuals did experience working in the fields, and it was difficult in the hot sun. Don Nicolas, he came, like I said, in 1952, and he started with 50 cents an hour. That's what they paid him, 50 cents an hour in those days. And, he worked pretty much all his life, even to the end, you would see him, not in the last couple of months, but before that, you would see him, rolling napkins with silverware at Maria's restaurant. So many of us seen him. He was a fixture in our community. And so I really wanted to honor him today on the show and mention him. 98 years old. That's a long life. Very long life. And Mrs. Vargas as well. Lupe Vargas passed away this week, I believe on Monday. Also at the age of 98. Those are long lives that we really can give gratitude to our Lord for these individual lives. Everybody can only hope that they live a life, as long, if they want to live that long of life, because these people were healthy. They didn't suffer too much, I don't think, as far as their health. But if you're 98 years old and you are suffering from health, you probably don't want to live that long. But we give thanks to God today. We give thanks to God for their lives, for the longevity that they were here in our community in Saginaw. And we know that they worked hard. They worked hard in their lives. So that's my tribute to Don Nicolas Jimenez. And my condolences to the entire Jimenez family, those in Mexico as well as those here in the United States. He was a great man. Always a smile on his face when I would address him or acknowledge him. And he was just good people in our community. So much else is happening in our community, and I wanted to talk about some of the next upcoming events. Saginaw Positive Results is a great organization, and they used to be called Pride, and then they changed their name so that it wouldn't coincide with the Saginaw Pride, which Pride, with the LGBT community we know, and so they became Saginaw Positive Results. And each year they gear up, of course, for the Friday Night Live activity that is always starting, I believe, in July and runs through August. And this year for their Latin night, I don't even know what they call it anymore because the name has changed or whatever, but they've got two great local bands that are coming for the event. And it's the band that's local here that everybody knows that has made a great comeback, and that's Desastres. They will be at the Friday Night Live that's going to be happening in July, and the other band is going to be Grupo Vicio from Detroit. They will also be at the Friday Night Live for Latino Night this year. And so congratulations to Pride in what they're doing for the community for so long, for so many years. I know that the beer tent is always very popular for this event, for the Latino Night, and they've had a great array of musicians that have come through and have entertained us for many, many years. So everybody gear up for the Friday Night Live. I don't have the schedule yet. I talked with Anne-Marie over there, and she is getting me that information for an advertisement that we can promote and talk about on the show in the future. So kudos to them for all that they're doing within the community. It's a great organization, and if anybody wants to help, I think that they can always use volunteers. They also put on the Memorial Day parade that's going to be happening for Memorial Day. And speaking of parades, the Juneteenth parade is coming up as well, and that's a great parade that has started about 3 years back. Kareem Bowen and I had talked about it on my show and on his show, and I really hope that there is some more community support and applications for the parade, so that parade can also be as large someday as the Cinco de Mayo parade, which we had over 100 applications. The Cinco de Mayo parade was a 2-hour parade. It was long. It was wonderful, though. It was joyful. And our parade coordinator, Casal Vasquez, she did a wonderful job. At the moment, I'm forgetting her last name, but Cameron. She's my cousin, and I'm forgetting her name, but she really had the spirit this year with her parade, the way she would talk to the community and trying to get people motivated, and she did a wonderful job and was out there with the people with a DJ in the lineup and really, made a difference. I can say the parade was one of our largest that we've ever had in the history of the 47 years of the Cinco de Mayo. And, one of the comments that I heard, and I think it speaks volumes to who we are as a community in Saginaw. I'm talking about the Great Lakes Bay region as well. But Bupper Gomez, who was one of our guests at the fiesta, and he was also in the parade. He's a podcast influencer that supports Tejano music throughout the nation. Has done a wonderful job. He started the show 6 years ago during COVID and has been a guest on my show a few times. He said on his show, he said that, I wish I could actually play it, but he said on his show that one of the things that he came away with from the Saginaw Cinco de Mayo parade was that it was all walks. The beauty of it was that it was all walks of people, whether it was, the Latinos, the African Americans, the Anglos, everybody was out there for Cinco de Mayo, the Cinco de Mayo parade. And he just came away with that with a really good feeling and, giving kudos to Saginaw from the stage at the fiesta as well as on his show. And that speaks a lot about us because, the Cinco de Mayo parade has been a staple for the last 47 years in Saginaw. It is the largest parade that we have, even in the state of Michigan in terms of the length as well as, a lot of people that come out and watch this parade. Now, this year we were on Michigan Avenue, and so it was a longer parade route to fill with people and all. And I think that with Dolores as our parade coordinator, she's already getting ready for next year. I'm sure it's even going to grow bigger, and there's going to be more of a request to have an application and be in the actual parade again in 2027. We're very close to celebrating 50 years with this parade, which is a milestone. And I believe the only other parade for Cinco de Mayo in the state of Michigan that is longer than ours is the Detroit by the Comité Committee, and what they do as well as keepers of their organization and their city, promoting positive images and trying to make sure that the culture and heritage is significant within the Detroit Southwest Mexican town community. They did a wonderful job this year as well, and it was so colorful from what I could see from the pictures. I wish I could have attended Detroit's parade, but come Sunday after our Cinco de Mayo, I'm exhausted. I'm just totally exhausted. And I think I could speak for many members of the Civica as well. We were really exhausted after coming from the parade, the festival, and then we had a dance in the evening as well. So it was a lot. It was a long day, and it was really nice to see so many people in the Saginaw community and the Great Lakes Bay region come out and support the Cinco de Mayo. So what I want to say is let's do that for Juneteenth. Kareem Bowen and his group over there, you've got the commitment from the Unión Cívica Mexicana. We're going to have our queen in the parade, riding in there, and I think it would be a great asset to the Great Lakes Bay region to have a great Juneteenth parade celebrating that holiday for our African American brothers and sisters. And so if anybody can and wants to be in that parade, it's happening next month already in June, and get a hold of Kareem Bowen if you can. I don't know who the actual contact is at the moment, but that's a parade that we need to also support, and hopefully Saginaw has a number of different parades. I think that's great, and it's wonderful when a community does have different aspects of cultural appeal for anybody who is living outside of Saginaw and can see and witness who we are as a community, because not every city, not every community celebrates the way that Saginaw has, and so it speaks to who we are as a community and people. And I know with the current climate and the administration are all, and I don't want to get into that or whatever, but diversity is not celebrated the way it was, say, 10 years ago. And so we have to keep going, pushing forward, moving in a positive direction, forget the negativity, and, push to support and help each other in terms of who we are as a community. And especially, Kareem Bowen on his show, United Shades of Grey, he had me on there, and he said, come on, Larry, be a part of the Juneteenth celebration. And I have been there. I've been as a witness in the parade route, but we're going to send an individual from our organization, La Unión Cívica Mexicana. So I call out to anybody who has an organization or business that wants to be in that parade. Please do so, because that gives high visibility, especially those that participated in the Cinco de Mayo. That was high visibility on their end if you participated, whether you were a bank or an organization or a dance group or a band. We had 4 bands this year. That was a plus. So it's really nice to see the participation, from our school, our high schools, and we want to do what we can to support that in a bigger way, so that there are bands in our parade. Just like I noticed there's a lot during the Memorial Day parade, and so we want to incorporate that more into the Cinco de Mayo parade as well. So we're going to talk more when we come back. I want to thank you all for joining me here on Mi Gente on Air as we talk about Latino concerns, Latino culture, and Latino contributions. We'll be right back.
.99% for...
This is Mi Gente on Air on WSGW.
Welcome back, everybody, to Mi Gente on Air. I want to thank you for joining me here today on this beautiful May day, mid-May. We're in almost into June. Can you believe it? Of 2026, the year is just flying by. But what makes a community? We ask ourselves. It's the people that make the community, of course, and there are so many events that are coming up that once summer hits, it's a wonderful thing. We have different events locally as well as throughout the state of Michigan that have been staples in their communities for a long time, and one of them that is coming up is the Cristo Rey Festival. It's happening Cristo Rey. They've got a great lineup there, and it's happening May 22nd, 23rd, and 24th of 2026. That's in the Lansing area. Guillermo Lopez and so many over there, friends of mine in Lansing, they have done always a wonderful job and have had that big tent that everybody's housed in, and it's a great event, and they've got a great lineup of entertainment as well. So mark your calendar for May 22nd, 23rd, 24th in Lansing, Michigan, for the Fiesta for the Cristo Rey, their main Latino church over there. And then we also have coming up, of course, in June, the Lansing Fiesta that's happening. Daniel Fiera is bringing in quite a number of bands and entertainment on different days, starting on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and that's going to be in June. And they've got a real nice Tejano explosion that's going to be happening with Motivo and Grupo Deseo, and another band, Tejano Heat. They're all going to be there. And, I want to put a calling out to Saginaw Gente to, make an effort to really try to get out there as well, because it's not that far. It's about an hour drive. And this young man is, really put his heart into putting on this event with, many, many sponsors, and they have a carnival, and they have just different nights. They have an R&B night. They've got country starting on Thursday, and then, of course, the Tejano explosion that's happening, as well as the entire festival. I believe they have some other good Mexicano music, or Mexican regional music on that Sunday. So mark your calendars for the big Lansing Tejano explosion that is going to be happening at the Lansing Fiesta. And we have had great bands that we share with the Lansing Latino community, that they play over there, and they play at our functions. We just had Grupo Deseo at the Cinco de Mayo Fiesta. Mark Najar, who's from Sacramento, has always done a wonderful job. He has, shown us his talent. He has a great band, the accordionist, Dave Rodriguez, and they always get the crowd moving, and they did a wonderful job, as well as Motivo. Man, Motivo came to the Historic Civica, and they had a variety of music. That's what I really liked about that band, was there was a lot of variety of old school songs, and they did a wonderful job, and they actually had me on the stage at one point singing Tennessee Whiskey. I had, like I said, worked pretty much all day, worked in the kitchen there, and just had a little too much, I guess, if you would say, and actually got up on the stage, but they were accommodating. It was really nice that the band members, the Herrera family, the boys, were trying to, because I didn't remember the lyrics so much, and the singer, the main lead singer, was trying to show me on his phone, but I couldn't read the words. It was too difficult. They were too small at my age. And so I was trying to rely on the guys on the back who were telling me the words. And it was quite a funny moment. And although I messed up the song, of course, because I didn't know the words, they said I pulled it off because I was very entertaining about it. And so that's what happened at our Cinco de Mayo Motivo dance. It was a wonderful celebration, though. And those events are coming up in Lansing, and that's a wonderful thing. And then, of course, like I said, the Friday Night Live one that's coming up with Desastres and Vicio for the Latino night in July. And then we've also got the St. Joe's Festival that will be happening. And my God, St. Joe's has done it a long time in our area, of course. It dates way back. And they're continually doing that. And I don't know if I have a flyer for that one. I don't think I do at the moment. But if anybody can give us any information on that, hopefully we can get somebody from the St. Joe's Festival. Miss Fulgencio, who is now the chairman this year, she reached out to me. And we're going to talk more about that in the upcoming days, if anybody can put the actual days. I know it's always usually surrounding Father's Day weekend. And so, kudos to St. Joe's and all that they do for our community as well. And I know that takes a lot of people to pull that off. And we'll get more information about who they have for entertainment for that day as well. And I also want to mention, today is a day that I can remember many, many years ago, that I was a young boy. I think I was 11 years old, when my cousin Elizabeth Garcia and Marty Garcia were married. Today they celebrate 50 years of marriage, and you can see Liz there as a bride, and it was a beautiful wedding, I remember, and I think the year was 1976. Yeah, so 50 years ago today, Elizabeth Castañeda, that was her maiden name, Castañeda, and she married Martin Garcia. And I remember, I come from 12th Street in Saginaw. That's where my grandparents lived when I was very young. And Elizabeth, she was her mother and parents. Her parents and she and her siblings lived right next door to us on 12th Street. There was like 4 houses that I had relatives in, and we lived all on 12th Street. And Liz was kind of like a leader of 12th Street, I want to say. Like she actually motivated many of us kids, and she would put together a marathon for Jerry Lewis. I remember all the kids would attend, and we would pay a dime to play the games, and that money was to go to the Jerry Lewis telethon. And she just ruled 12th Street. Like, she had a pool, I remember, and she would make us pay like a dime to get in the pool, and then we had to clean it afterwards. It was just a fun time on 12th Street, if anybody can remember, between Lapeer and Jane Street, and that's where we lived in those early days. And so when I seen Liz, I call her Elizabeth, when I seen her come into the old St. Joe's Church, in the back of the church, they had the 2 big doors, and the steps that led up to it. I remember they opened the doors, and I was inside right there in the corridor, and I saw Liz for the first time in a wedding dress. I couldn't believe our fearless leader of 12th Street was so beautiful in this big white wedding dress, and I was taken aback. I posted about this today, and I could still see Liz laugh at me at my response to her in a white wedding dress, and she's probably laughing if she hears this because she. I don't know if she'll remember that moment, but I sure remember. And Naomi Heredia was just a toddler, maybe a year or two, standing on the old heater register right next to the door, and with the big Orozco eyes. But Elizabeth was getting married, and we had a joyous day. The picture there that I was showing you was actually Liz in her wedding dress with my sister next to her and my cousin, her sister, Elizabeth's sister Esperanza, my cousin Ernestine Orozco, and I think Yolanda Torres is the flower girl. So it was a big day. It was a big day. It was a joyous occasion for our family, and Marty has been within our family for many, many years now, 50 years. And that's a celebration. That's quite an accomplishment, I would say, for any marriage, especially these days. And, I want to mention that Elizabeth's mother and father, Gilbert and Mary Castañeda, they're going to be celebrating 75 years of marriage. I mean, that is huge. That's huge. And I believe in September or October, I can't remember the actual month, but 75 years of marriage. Liz and Marty, 50 years. Congratulations to all of you who have withstood the test of time when it comes to matrimony. It's very difficult this day and age to stay married, I think, because of social media and the internet and everything else. And it's wonderful that they can celebrate that. But I remember that day vividly, 50 years ago today. And congratulations to Marty and Liz Garcia. And I also want to mention, I got a press release today in regards to a citywide meeting that Tim Morales, the manager, is inviting everybody to on May 20th. It's only next Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. at the Saginaw Police Department, 612 Federal Avenue. And they hope that people are available to attend and learn more about the upcoming summer community safety initiatives and police services. And topics that will be discussed is summer safety tips for residents and families, front porch roll call and other neighborhood outreach efforts, and community engagement opportunities with local law enforcement. So they're inviting members of the community to attend and have the opportunity to meet with the police department, the K-9 unit, during a live training demonstration and review emergency service team vehicles. So kudos to the city and the police department staff that will be available to answer questions in regards to this citywide meeting on May the 20th. So I just wanted to mention that because I think it's important that people get involved and contribute to what's going on in their community. So that's what I have in terms of community events and all. I did want to show some pictures that I forgot to show while I was giving tribute to Don Nicolas Jimenez. This was his bracero card, tarjeta card right here. Tarjeta card, I should say. As you can see, he was a young man there. And this entered him in to the bracero program. His signature there, Nicolas Jimenez, number 433. And what I want to say about this card here, he carried around in his wallet for many years. And we did a exhibit at the Castle Museum way back in 2011, in May of 2011. I was part of it where we hooked up with the Smithsonian Institute, and they had an exhibit for the Bracero program where they sent pictures and information about the actual Bracero program, and we had a local component to it where we featured individuals who had ties to either being in the Bracero program or were early migrants in Saginaw County. And Don Nicolas, we showed this card as well as his papers showing that he was indeed an actual bracero who had come to Tejas as well as Saginaw and worked the fields. He was quite an individual, like I said, and worked all his life. And I wanted to show this picture because it's significance of who he was and what he represented as a working man who worked the agriculture and who was the backbone to so much of our, the braceros and the migrant workers of this country were the backbone of this America that put so much, food on the tables of Americans in those days from 1942 to 1964. And then Don Nicolas, he actually, like I said, was born in Mexico. I forget the city's name right now, but he had a twin brother who was named Roberto. And you can see in El Rancho Grande, there's a picture there behind them of them as young toddlers, as twins. And Don Roberto, he passed about 10 years ago, I think it was. But his brother just recently passed this week and was at the age of 98. And like I said, he did get married in 1968, and they raised 8 children. And this is this isn't their wedding picture, but this was Maria's mother here, as well as Don Nicolas in the background there. I believe it was from Maria's quinceañera in Mexico, in Celaya. She passed in 2009, and she was a wonderful woman as well, a hard worker. And I remember her always, she was old school, and I remember eating in El Rancho Grande, and she always wanted her daughters, Maria or Chole, to actually serve me at the table whenever I came in as a friend of the families. And so, she's with her husband now, and they are resting in peace. And it's wonderful that he lived to be the age of 98 years old. One of the things I remember too was when Dolores Huerta came to town in 2010, and here's a picture of Dolores Huerta with the Jimenez girls and Don Nicolas there as well. Dolores Huerta, she came and she was a visitor. She was already in, I think, 82 years of age at the time. And when you go and you visit people or places and they're cooking food, you kind of sometimes, at least I'm reserved to want to eat anybody's food that I may not be accustomed to or whatever. And I remember Dolores Huerta, they wanted to serve her food and all, and she says, well, I'll just have one enchilada. And so she had an enchilada that Maria made back in the kitchen, and they brought it, and I believe they served it with rice. I was sitting right by her. And when she finished that enchilada, she looked at me and she says, can I have one more? I thought it was kind of funny. And I said, can you get one more enchilada for Dolores Huerta? Can you imagine this great icon, of the farm workers movement was sitting in Maria's restaurant on State Street. And lo and behold, Maria came from the kitchen, came back, and Dolores Huerta asked her, how did she make those enchiladas, actually? And Maria, being Maria, always straightforward, said, hey, we'll come back here, come here, and I'll show you. And that's the picture you see there, where Maria's making actually enchiladas from the actual chili pods sauce, from chili guajillo, chili ancho, whatever she uses. I don't know exactly, but she showed Dolores Huerta actually how she made her enchiladas. And I remember Dolores Huerta actually ate 3 enchiladas with rice there at that visit when we brought her for the inaugural Adelante Awards in 2010. And so you see Don Nicolas at the end there as well. And he's smiling with his big smile. And their sister from Mexico, from Celaya, and Chole, and Maria at the center there. So that was really neat. A great memory for me when she came and celebrated with us in Saginaw. And, there was a lot of controversy earlier this year in 2026 in regards to the allegations that she made, as well as others, against Cesar Chavez. It was a difficult time. It hit many of us hard in the Latino community because Cesar Chavez, truly was one of our heroes, and yet all these accusations have come forward so many years later. And I'm very supportive of the women the victims. I'm supportive of Dolores Huerta. She's also in her 90s. I think she's 96. Another one individual living a long time. And, we are in a new day and age. The YouTube movement has, or Me Too movement has transpired. There was a ruling today on Harvey Weinstein. And it's just, a whole different era and time from before when Dolores Huerta came to Saginaw. But I support her wholeheartedly. From my interactions with her and all, I don't think that she would lie. And so I just wanted to bring that up as well. So that's what's happening in our realm here in the city of Saginaw. And I want to talk with my producer here, Matt Lester, because he always, as a producer, he has his opinions and all. But I wanted to, first of all, Matt, tell me about this new system. What do you know about it, and how are we doing so far?
So, the new system that we have, the new streaming service, is called a Restream. We were on StreamYard before, but with the price of it, apparently we were getting charged too much, or something happened, and we ended up coming over to Restream. I'm still getting the hang of it, but in all honesty, there's a lot that we can do. Like, we can change with the fonts, we can do this, we can do that. There's different backgrounds that we can add on now. In all honesty, it seems pretty cool. I still have a little bit more learning to do in terms of, like, the different aspects and the different, like, things that Restream can do in terms of content, but yeah.
Yeah, well, it looks...
Well, what do you think of it so far on our first episode?
I like the clarity of it as well. I meant to show this picture of Liz and Marty Garcia. We're just getting used to it, but from my end, I can actually, on the laptop, put up these pictures now as I speak about them, and not have to rely solely on Matt to do that. So that's kind of a neat aspect, but, there's a lot of things that we're going to have to get used to. And it's going to be pretty neat to be able to continually upgrade the system and all that we have here. Lastly, I want to ask Matt Lester, my producer here, were you able to go to the Cinco de Mayo celebration at all?
I was able to go at the very start. I was there for part of the parade, but the actual party, I was not.
What'd you think about the parade, though, from a viewpoint of a non-Latino watching?
Oh, I think it was cool. Me and my friends, we try to go every single year. A few of my friends, their families, they're Hispanic and Latino, so, their Cinco is very important to them. And, yeah, we try to go every single year. Usually we try to go to the celebration as well. It's just this year we already had some plans going on and just weren't able to make it. Yeah.
Well, I want to personally thank everybody who did come out. Sometimes it's... as the chairman of the Cinco de Mayo, it's difficult at times as we're leading up to that big day. There's so much to be involved with, from the city to the Dow Event Center to the entertainment to the getting ready, the patito sale, everything. It's just a lot on my plate. And thank God I have a great crew with the Union Civica All-Stars. They did a wonderful job in all that they do to help pull that whole day off. It's a lengthy process, so kudos to them, and kudos to everybody from Saginaw who did attend the Cinco de Mayo, the 47th annual. So thank you, everybody, for being with me here today on Mi Gente on Air. It's always a pleasure, and I hope that we can continue to move forward into the latter half of 2026 with great shows on Mi Gente on Air. See you later. Good night.
Experience has its reward.